Tag. But remember when Rook said that he's a skinny boy at heart?
All right, before we get completely off the rails here, nobody wants to talk to me at 9 a.m.
No.
Guten Tag. I don't know how to say everyone, but welcome back to the Friday Five. I'm your host, Terrin Waack, and I'm joined today by Tori McElhaney. Will McFadden is still home with the newborn, so you're stuck with us two girlies again.
Yep. Two girlies about to go to Germany.
Who don't speak German.
Yeah, I'm really worried about it. I'm not going to lie. How will I order anything?
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm not sure.
Don't ask Siri because Siri just steered us wrong on how to say hello.
I know.
So let's get to the question of the day before we embarrass ourselves more with our lack of German. But it is Germany related.
Yeah.
Who would win a pretzel eating competition between the two of us? Or is it supposed to be about the team?
Probably about the team.
Oh.
I mean, between the two of us, like, we could probably put down some pretzels. I'd throw myself in the competition, but I think it's just based off of the team. Because, right, they're answering questions. They're not including us in their...
If I caught a stray from one of the players,
Terrin,
I don't know if I'd be flattered or insulted.
No, I don't know. I feel bad because I feel like everybody was probably going to answer some type of lineman. And I'm like, maybe the lineman...
D or O lineman?
Either.
I don't know why I phrased it that way.
I know. Either lineman and either man on the line. And I feel bad. So I'm like, okay, who could potentially burn the most calories? Like, as they are doing what they're doing. And I was thinking it could maybe be despite them being like arguably the skinniest, either a DB or a receiver because of how much they're having to run.
That's fair.
So like you need caloric intake, so potentially they are just this bottomless pit of pretzel eating monsters.
Okay, so which one are you picking? Name a name.
HHRL? He plays every single snap. He's running all the time.
I'm going to say Ruka row.
I think that's fair too.
I'm going with the lineman.
But remember when Rook said that he's a skinny boy at heart? Maybe he doesn't eat a bunch of pretzels all the time.
That's a throwback.
Right? Yeah. Watch Falcons final whistle. Watch that too. But go back and watch our episode with Rook of Falcons in Focus when he talked about that.
I don't think I've ever laughed so hard on a podcast.
That was the best podcast. I loved it.
Yeah. So I'm going with him even though he is a skinny boy at heart.
Yeah.
If it were me and you have some beer cheese with it, I think I would win.
You throw yourself in the competition. Yeah.
No beer cheese? No.
Only with beer cheese.
Well, because we're already talking about Germany, let's continue into the 5 things we need to know this week, starting with the fact that the Falcons are going to Germany. We're not just randomly German fans. Okay, so Tori, you know I've never been across the pond.
I know this is Terrin's first trip. Not internationally. You've been out of the country.
Right, to like Mexico.
Right.
Haiti.
Right.
Wherever the Royal Caribbean goes, honestly.
Wherever the cruise ship takes
I'm like,
me.
I can't think of anywhere else. I was going to say Puerto Rico, but that's technically...
You've been in international waters, but you've not been...
Across the bigger pond.
Yes, you've not been across the Atlantic.
Right.
Yeah.
And I was with the team when they went to London, but just because of when I joined and when the travel was booked, I didn't make the trip, which is fine, because I went to Talladega.
You did go to Talladega.
And they're basically the same, right?
Honestly, London, Talladega, I think there are a lot of people out there that are like, you know what? Not the same, but good for you.
Okay. Let's talk about the travel differences between the two destinations then.
Yeah.
What can you tell me about the logistics of this team going overseas? I didn't do it, so I don't know what to expect. So tell me and the fans, I guess.
So I went on the trip to London a couple of years ago, and this one's a little bit different in terms of the travel logistics. Same type of deal where you'll travel through the night later this week, and then Friday you'll land in Berlin, like 8 a.m. Berlin time, which is like 2:30 in the morning our time. We'll go through customs, all that kind of stuff, get on the bus, go directly to practice, which is different because in London we had like a little time at the hotel to maybe get a little extra sleep from the flight going directly through the night. But that's not happening this time. We'll go directly to practice. Raheem Morris will speak to all of the media that's there, and that includes Us, and it also includes German media, which I'm very excited to meet our German friends and see our German friends over there. But that will actually, for people at home in Atlanta, that will be at like 5:30 in the morning Atlanta time when we're talking to Raheem. So make sure and stay up to date with what Terrin and I are tweeting and posting on AtlantaFalcons.com. We'll have you covered even if you're not awake, which why would you be awake?
Wait, so is that a 4-hour, 5-hour time difference?
I think it's like 7.
Okay, the game's at 3:30 and it's 9:30 here. We can do this.
Yeah.
9, 8, 7. Yeah, 7 hours.
7 hours. Yeah. So 7-hour difference.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Or is it 6?
Unsure.
6 to 7, 7 to 8, 8 to 9. 6 hours.
I'm not good. We've had a Monday night game 3 weeks ago. We went out to the West Coast and had a Sunday night game. Got back at like 6:30 in the morning. I don't know what time. We had a time change, daylight savings time, which is stupid, by the way. I hate daylight savings time.
All right, before we get completely off the rails here. For those who are making the trip to Germany with the Falcons, there are a lot of things that the Falcons have planned for fans in Berlin. Let's see. Let me read, because I don't know them off the top of my head.
There's a lot.
On Saturday, there's a day-long event called Falcons House. It's hosted at, I'm going to botch this.
Here we go, Terrin.
Fotografiska, Berlin.
You messed up
Of course
Berlin.
I mess up Berlin.
You messed up Berlin, but you got Fotografista?
Oh, man. It's free and open to the public from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. local time.
Yeah.
It's basically a massive meet and greet with guests such as Freddie Falcon, Fritz Falcon, cheerleaders, and former players. On Sunday, then, there's a fan rally from 10 a.m. to noon, and there's also a Dirty Bird fan walk, which I think sounds so cool.
Yeah.
To Olympic Stadium starting at 1:30 p.m. A real easy way to learn everything you need to know as a fan and not having to remember what I just said is by going to AtlantaFalcons.com/Berlin.
Yeah.
That's AtlantaFalcons.com/Berlin. There we go.
Terrin and I will be at Falcons House later in the afternoon on Saturday. So if you see us, say hi.
Guten Tag.
Yeah, or Guten Tag, that too.
Yeah. I mean, this is all good vibes and all because we're very excited about Germany.
Yeah.
But I don't know that we can say all vibes are good when it comes to this team right now.
Correct.
They're coming off of 3 straight losses, and the Falcons are 3-5 overall, which puts them 3rd in the NFC South. The Buccaneers are number 1 at 6-2. Mm-hmm. The Panthers are number 2 at 5-4. I think that one surprises a lot of people.
Well, I mean, they just pulled an upset
over the Packers.
Mm-hmm.
The Saints are 4th at 1-8. So not a great place to be heading into this matchup where the Colts are tied for the best record in the NFL at 7-2. The other team who's tied with them are the Patriots, who the Falcons just lost to.
Yeah.
Tori, what are your thoughts entering this Week 10 game, the vibes as we just talked about? Are the Falcons lost in the division battle? Do the Falcons have to beat the Colts? These are all massive questions. You can pick your poison.
Yeah, so for me, I hate to be the bearer of bad news here, but the math, the statistics, the odds are not
just as good as our time difference.
They're not in the Falcons' favor right now. Just this past week, the New York Times and The Athletic posted their playoff simulator, which I love using it. I use it pretty much every day just to play around with what things could look like.
It's so easy to use.
Yeah, it's so easy to use. And so I was playing around with it as it stands right now. At this point with the Falcons 0-2 in the division and with only 3 wins right now that they have accounted for over the course of this season, they only have a 10% chance to make the playoffs. As you were saying, the Panthers also are kind of inching further ahead of the Falcons. And what's interesting is, yes, you have this game against the Colts out in Germany that, yes, if you win that game, your percentages go up. Absolutely. Obviously, it helps your odds. But even though I'm trying not to get too far ahead of myself, I'm actually more concerned and almost looking at Week 11 against the Carolina Panthers at home coming off of that Germany trip, because that one to me feels like a must win.
Yeah.
To start this whole season 0-2 in NFC South play, and then and if you were to drop to 0-3 after having already dropped the amount of games you have up to this point, I mean, if you're just looking at the sheer numbers, if the Falcons lose to the Colts and then lose to the Panthers at home, that puts them at less than a 1% chance to make the postseason. The only way at that point that you really even give yourself a fighting chance for a wild card spot is if you completely win out. And I think even then it's like a 70% chance. So that means you would have to beat the Bucs at their place, as well as playing the Seahawks and Rams at home. All three of those teams are top 10 organizations right now. So essentially you would have to beat the Colts, the Panthers, the Seahawks, the Bucs, and the Rams. Again, the math to me isn't in their favor right now. And these next, you can maybe get away with not beating the Colts, but I don't think you can get away with not beating the Panthers.
If you beat the Colts, I think it gives you a huge confidence boost, which obviously would help when returning home to host the Panthers.
Yeah, especially because the Panthers are riding a very high right now. You know, I think I saw they posted something where like Julian Edelman said something along the lines of like the Packers were just like playing with their food at halftime.
The cheese.
And it was interesting because like the Panthers, I think social team clipped that. And I think it's they're a tough team right now. They're playing good football. They're making some mistakes, but it's not getting in the way of them having 5 wins.
They're second in the NFC South.
Right.
Numbers, I can't say numbers don't lie, but those are what the numbers are.
Right.
Point blank, period.
Yeah.
And talking about how the Falcons are riding a 3-game losing streak into this matchup, and the Colts are only coming off a 1, but they were riding 4.
Yeah.
I think let's look at the Falcons' last 3. You and I discussed before this podcast started 3 common themes across those 3 losses.
Yeah.
I'm going to pitch the idea.
Okay.
You're going to smack it out of the park.
Oh, thank you.
We're going to play baseball a little bit with this. Here's some softballs.
Okay.
Number 1, the Falcons' third down struggles on offense. The Falcons converted 8 of their 32 third downs in the last 3 losses. That's good, not so good, for 25% success rate.
Yeah, so I specifically asked Raheem Morris about this on Monday. I said, hey, I know these aren't a one-size-fits-all instance. Like all of these 32 third down instances all involve different play calls. They all involve different structure. They all involve different timing and placement. All of that. I get that. But I was like, what are the steps that this staff and this team is taking to be better in these kind of situational moments? Because right now there is a theme it's not good. 8 of 32 in third downs. There's a key reason why this offense has had the struggles that it has, even up to last week against New England. I know you scored 3 times with 3 Drake London touchdowns, but there were many a times where you weren't moving the ball. The Falcons have, I want to say, just over 10 3-and-outs since they came back from their Week 5 bye. They're not stringing these drives, these sustainable drives together, and a lot of that is because of the issues on third down. And so I asked Raheem this question, and he kind of said, and I don't want to I'm just going to paraphrase kind of what he said, because he had this whole thing about he kind of agreeing that, yes, these situations are all different. I'm like, I get that. But he said, we've got to put ourselves in more favorable situations to get the third downs. When you go 3rd and 10, 3rd and 12, 3rd and 9, any quarterback would tell you those are tough situations. We want to be in more manageable third downs and be able to get those things going, particularly in the opening drives when starting fast. And my response to that is kind of it's actually interesting, because I don't necessarily think that the Falcons are in too many unfavorable third down situations. You actually were the one that pointed out that they're in a lot of 3rd and mediums.
Pulled it at the Providence airport.
Yeah, so these are numbers that Terrin pulled up, but they have 15 third down situations where they're between 1 and 5 yards. They've converted 7 of those. So I do think that in these short yardage third downs, you need to be a bit better. You're only converting half the time on, let's say, 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3, some of these shorter yard situations. The problem thereafter is you have 13 third downs between 6 and 10 yards. So 3rd and medium, 3rd and long, and you've converted 0 of those. You have 4 that were over 11 yards and converted 1. So yes, while I understand what Raheem is saying, where it's you want to be in more manageable third downs, there is a certain extent where the vast majority of your third downs have even been 3rd and 6 and below, which is 3rd and medium and 3rd and short, which especially those 3rd and short, you need to be able to convert those. You need to be able with 3 On a third down with 2 yards to gain, you need to be able to convert that at a high rate and a high level. And right now, the Falcons, I don't feel like, are doing that enough.
I think you hit a triple with that analysis to stay on the 3 theme.
Ah.
Okay, topic number 2.
Okay, hit it.
The Falcons' run game overall has been squashed. The Falcons may have the 15th ranked run offense, but that's with their overall 117 yards per game. In the last 3 losses, though, the Falcons have only averaged 59 yards per game.
Yeah, so this whole topic, it goes back to what we were talking about last week, that there's a direct correlation between the Falcons' inability to run the ball consistently and whether or not they win or lose a game. When the run game gets squashed, to use your term, they...
'Tis the season.
Right.
Fall.
Squash. I didn't even think that. Nice. Like it.
Thank you.
At this point, the evidence is kind of as simple as that if the Falcons don't run the ball, they don't have the best chance to win the game. What's frustrating is as for a team that claims that this is their lifeline, they've been unable to get it going. And I understand you were going up against the Patriots last week that had a top 3 run defense. But the week before, you faced a run defense that was 31st in the league in the Dolphins. A piece of this that you can't overlook, and we're recording this on Wednesday afternoon. So everybody will be listening to this on Friday morning. So a lot can happen between now and when you're listening to this, when we're recording versus when you hear it. And we will be in Germany. We have a long flight ahead of us. But Matthew Bergeron, Chris Lindstrom are working through injuries this week. We talked to Raheem Morris about it earlier on Wednesday. He said that Matthew Bergeron has an ankle injury and is considered week to week. He said that he didn't feel good about Matthew Bergeron being available to the Falcons this weekend in Germany. Chris Lindstrom has a better outlook. He's a bit more day-to-day, and Raheem Morris said he feels better about Chris Lindstrom opposed to Matthew Bergeron. These are key cogs in the wheel. These are 2 key starters that the Falcons heavily, heavily rely on, and in a point in time where the Falcons' offensive line is having trouble run blocking, to not have Matthew Bergeron, to potentially not have Chris Lindstrom, that's a huge blow when you're going up against an Indianapolis Colts team that, I'll be honest, is playing some really, really good football despite what they put on the field last week.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. I don't really have an analogy to make with that when it comes to single, double, or single. I mean, triple. We already hit a triple. Anyways, just like my analogy, the Falcons' kicking woes continue.
Yes.
The Falcons replaced Younghoe Koo with Parker Romo, but now the Falcons replaced Parker Romo with Zane Gonzalez. What do you make of all this movement at this one position?
I can't trust the kicking game
Trust
right
issues.
now. Like, I just can't. You're now on your 3rd kicker in 10 weeks. You've brought in a handful of kickers. You signed 2 different ones. You released Koo earlier in the year. Like, and I just don't have any confidence in how things are going to go out. Now, granted, I haven't seen enough of Zane Gonzalez to truly know one way or the other. I obviously know what his stats are, but until you get someone in the moment, like, I don't know.
Right.
I have no idea. And, something I thought that was a bit interesting that came to light on Wednesday is Raheem Morris said Zane Gonzalez was actually in the group that originally that the team worked out with, like, Parker Romo earlier in the year when Younghoe Koo was having all of his issues and they started bringing people in. And I thought it was interesting, like Raheem said, that they decided to go with the young statesman instead of the older statesman. So young statesman being Parker Romo, older statesman being...
It is interesting, yeah.
Yeah, Zane Gonzalez. And so it doesn't make me feel confident that Zane Gonzalez was in the building earlier this year. You ended up going with Parker Romo. Parker Romo obviously has some misses in Carolina and then misses the extra point this past weekend. Like, I'm just having a hard time at this point knowing that I can send, if I'm a coach, I can send a kicker out there for even a 35-yarder.
An extra point.
And it be something good that you're talking about. Until they show me something different, I can't trust it.
I think that's completely fair.
Yeah.
Well, we'll move on from those 3 dramatic things to something maybe a little bit less dramatic, but it could be
very important.
Very important
Yep.
in this matchup specifically. We're going to talk about the Falcons' run defense. Atlanta is ranked 23rd in stopping the run, allowing an average of 124 rushing yards per game. Not the worst.
It's actually gotten better since
it has
since the Christian McCaffrey game.
It has.
Yeah.
And Jeff Ulbrich identified those issues in the past few weeks, and you have seen it pick up. But now you have your real test because the Colts, their running back, Jonathan Taylor is leading the NFL in rushing.
Yeah.
What can you tell us about him and what he's doing this season?
Gosh, I feel like I have been talking about Jonathan Taylor on this specific podcast for 3 weeks. I've been talking about because
yes,
right, like
I had to figure out what you meant by that.
Yeah, because a big part
You've been looking forward to this.
I have, because I've been really looking forward to watching Jonathan Taylor play. I think what he's doing. I mean, you can't overlook. I think even from a national perspective, what Jonathan Taylor has meant to the Colts offense just in general. The numbers speak for themselves, but I think just from a broader spectrum of what the running back position is. Like, he's playing at a level that I think should be spoken about in the same way that people talk about Christian McCaffrey, James Cook, Jahmyr Gibbs, and Bijan Robinson when the Falcons' run game is going. You know, like Jonathan Taylor is, I don't know if he gets the same recognition nationally for what he did, what he's been doing for this Colts offense. And so you kind of said, you know, he's averaging around 100 rushing yards per game. He's one of 2 players with more than 800 yards total rushing, James Cook being the other one. He's averaging 5.7 yards per carry, which is crazy. And the reason why it's so, that stat in and of itself, it's not like these are clean 5.7 yards or even 3 clean yards.
Yeah.
He's forcing a missed tackle on 35.7% of his carries, which is the highest mark among 33 running backs this season. Like, it's not like he's just clean. And I mean, yeah, the Colts offensive line have done some really, really good things, and their run blocking has been pretty superb all year. But this is as much credit to them as it is to Jonathan Taylor, and I think what he's been doing. And this is a very, very difficult matchup for this Atlanta Falcons run defense. But to your point, I think that there has been growth within this run defense in a very short amount of time in the last couple of weeks. I think they've done some good things. And so I'm curious to see if they can take another step or even sustain what they have done in the last 2 weeks, because there has been improvement, and you want to be able to see them go up against the best running back in the game right now and show up.
Yeah, and you mentioned 2 of the running backs who fall in like the top tier rankings, along with Jonathan Taylor and James Cook and Christian McCaffrey, who the Falcons have both already faced. Well, James Cook rushed for 87 yards in the Falcons' Week 6 win against the Bills. And then Christian McCaffrey rushed for 129 and 2 touchdowns in the Falcons' Week 7 loss to the 49ers. So you kind of see both sides of the coin, where you were saying Christian McCaffrey did really well.
He did Christian McCaffrey things.
Did better. Like, they improved. They learned from it. And you'd like to see those learnings continue in Germany.
Yeah. Well, I think about even when they were trying to run the ball, like New England was trying to run the ball up in Gillette Stadium this past weekend. Like, they had some success in the first half, but I felt like in the second half, like when they really wanted to run the ball because they were ahead, the Falcons defense did some really good things in terms of stopping the run and putting them in some uncomfortable situations. So you have to give credit where credit is due, that there has been improvement in the last 2 weeks especially, but you want to see that remain to be the established part of this defense, that it's like, oh, it wasn't just a 2-week flash in the pan. No, they've actually improved it as a run defense.
And stopping Jonathan Taylor will be a huge testament if so.
100%, yeah.
Because I mean, the recipe for success is that, or it could be that.
Yeah.
In the sense that, like, the Colts are defeatable.
Yes.
They lost last weekend to the Steelers. Even though they have the best record, they have 2 blemishes on it. The Steelers are 5-3, so they're also good, but not as great as the Colts when you look purely at records.
Yeah.
How did the Steelers manage that, do you think?
Yeah, so I actually thought it was really interesting, and I posed this question kind of just something I've been thinking about since the Colts lost to the Steelers, but like, I'm genuinely curious, like, how much of last Sunday's loss to the Steelers was more of the Colts imploding on themselves versus the Steelers actually outperforming them. Like, I don't want to take anything away from the Steelers' performance, but the fact of the matter is like, the Indianapolis Colts as an offense had 4 turnovers in the first 8 weeks of the season total. They had 6 in one game last week against the Steelers, and like, you just can't do that.
That's
like,
an insane jump.
You're never gonna win like that. You're never gonna win having 6 turnovers, giving the ball to Aaron Rodgers that many times, like not putting points on the board. Like those are things that you can't do. And it's not, but the thing about it is it's not, that's not been a notorious problem for the Colts. That it really did feel like this was a one-time bad performance anomaly, not to use that word, not to trigger people, but like that genuinely felt like that, because we have seen the Colts take care of the ball. We have seen them capitalize on things. We have seen them be one of the most productive offenses in all of football up to last week. And last week they lay an egg and they turned the ball over 6 times. Like, that's not what you're used to you're not used the Indianapolis Colts to do. That's not what
definitely not used to the Carolina Panthers.
Exactly,
doing
I know. I almost misspoke there. But like, so if you do have a situation where the Indianapolis Colts go out to Germany, first off, I think you're going to see them take care of the ball. I think that you can't come off of a 6 turnover game and not take care of the ball.
In a sense, that you think they'll be more safe?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that or not even safe. I think their fundamentals will be better. I think they'll just taking care of the ball just
kind of
in
like
general.
a quick reality check.
Yeah.
Like, back to that.
Exactly. Like, don't, like, making it an emphasis. You cannot do that again. So I do think that they probably will end up taking care of the ball a bit better. And I also think you're going to get a Colts team that is probably pretty angry at themselves, knowing that that's not what they did against the Steelers is not who they are. So I'm curious to see what Colts team shows up. But ultimately, what the Steelers did show us is that if you do force the Colts into mistakes, you have to capitalize on offense thereafter. Like, if they do turn the ball over, if you can get off the field, like, you've got to go down and you've got to score points, which again is such simple in concept. And I'm saying this so simply, but that's been a struggle for the Atlanta Falcons over the course of the last 3 games. Maybe not as much against the Patriots.
Thanks to Drake London.
Right. Yeah. Like, thanks to Drake London's acrobatic catches, but like, prior to that, and even in the losses earlier in the season, like, you have to, if your defense gets you the ball, you've got to go down and put points on the board. You have to score. And because, let's be real, the Colts are going to score. They have a good offense. They have one of the best offenses.
They have the number 1 scoring offense.
They have the number 1 scoring offense. You are going to have to outpace them, and they're going to get theirs too. Like, that's the point. They're going to get theirs. They're going to score points, and you've got to match it. And then when your defense comes up with a stop, you've got to capitalize on that.
Zach Robinson was asked today as in Wednesday, whether the Colts having the number 1 scoring offense puts a little more pressure on his unit. And you get the normal coach speak of, like, we got to do our job. It's always our job to score touchdowns, execute, do the small things. But he did say there is a heightened sense of urgency.
Yeah.
Because we need to score as many points as we need to win the game. And football 101.
Right. Yeah. But again, it's simple. Like, we're not talking about rocket science here.
They got to go at least tit for tat.
Yeah. And you know, hope that your defense can come up with a stop here and there and score.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we've touched on a lot. Is there anything you'd like to add?
Honestly, no. I guess like make sure everybody to wake up, set your alarms for Sunday morning, because kickoff is at 9:30. So, you know, grab your mimosas and your chicken and waffles and enjoy a very nice, lovely time watching this game in Berlin. I'm really excited. It's the first NFL regular season game in Berlin, which is a really big moment, I think, for the Falcons organization, because they have exclusive marketing rights in Berlin or in Germany. So I think it's a really big moment just for as the game continues to grow internationally. Really excited to see our German fan base, because we do have a lot of German friends. So excited to see everybody over there, and make sure you follow along with everything that Terrin and I are doing. A lot of what we're doing probably is going to be while you are asleep and or just waking up in the morning. So make sure every morning check back into AtlantaFalcons.com.
Yeah, and I forgot to give the disclaimer at the beginning of this epi that we are recording on Wednesday. So you definitely need to go back to AtlantaFalcons.com to make sure you're keeping up with the injury reports, news in general. Another thing to keep up with is the fact that the pregame show is actually already live on the Falcons YouTube.
Heyo!
Hey, so you can check that out now, tomorrow, the next day, and forever and ever. As Tori mentioned, the game will kick off at 9:30 Eastern Time here in Atlanta. Thankfully for us, too, it's 3:30 p.m. local.
Wow.
Nobody wants to talk to me at 9 a.m.
No.
So that's it for Tori and Terrin. Everyone have a great weekend, and I have no idea how to say goodbye in German.